Hello. You procrastinate when everything else is more important than what you are procrastinating about. So when you need to do something and you're just like tomorrow, it's like all of a sudden there are other important things to do. Things will always come up that seems more important, and sometimes they can be more important, but the fact that you are procrastinating on that thing, also adds more importance to other things that need to be done. So what you have to do is sometimes you have to shelve every other thing to focus on that thing that you're procrastinating about. Yeah. All right. So welcome to another episode. And in this episode, I'm going to talk again about victim shaming. Now, I watched a video of a comedian duo who obviously were featuring the story of a lady, and apparently the lady had body surgery where she has a more shapely behind and sculpted figure, and she did it for her boyfriend. Apparently, according to her boyfriend didn't ask her, but he was always staring at women with that body shape, always looking for them on Instagram and liking their photos. And she felt kind of low. She felt low. There was low self-esteem. She felt inadequate because of that, and he's more or less said some things that made her feel unattractive. So she felt, and she wanted to please him, So what did she do? She went for the surgery, and the moment she had the surgery and he saw her, it wasn't long after they broke up, And what I wasn't expecting, I didn't even finish watching their reaction to her video, because I was not expecting that they would suddenly turn on her and say it was her fault, that she can't be blaming her boyfriend for that. And I'm like, hold it right there. There's no one that can convince me that is victim shaming. That exactly is victim shaming. I think some men, or men generally, they want to avoid the fact that all the crazy things, 99% of the crazy things women do to their bodies to look a certain way is for the men in their life, or is for the men to find them more attractive. If men cannot see, if men can't see, does anybody really think a woman would go out of her way to change her body structure? This was what I was saying about victim shaming in somewhere else. And I was saying it started with this motivational speaking, which I think it was some kind of brainwashing. But at the same time, it was like validating everybody else to be offensive, to be rude, to do anything to anybody. And at the end of it all, the person who that thing is done to is blamed. They are like, oh, you are the one who allowed things. You don't blame other people for what happens to you. You have to blame yourself for allowing it to happen to you. And I thought that was really horrible. And now we are seeing the result of it. So there is a conspiracy of some sort between the people who determine who is beautiful and who isn't, and cosmetologists, where, if it is not a fairer skin that people are looking for, a whiter skin and all of that, it is a more bigger butt, more bigger busts, thinner waist, and all of those stuff. And the fact that you can have all of that by exercising is usually not considered, because at the end of the day, to exercise yourself to that point, you need patience, you need resilience, determination to do that. So if you're trying to do it quickly, it's because you're not really doing it for yourself, really. You're doing it maybe to get attention or to get attention. And as much as I think that, people are at fault for changing their self to suit someone else, I think also that there is no rule book out there, because the argument that some of these men gave was, well, you know how it is a fantasy, men don't date their fantasy and all of that stuff. And for me, I was thinking, women date their own fantasy, and that is why they are willing to be the fantasy to their fantasy. Now, would men please open their mouths and talk before and say, look, you are the one I like, this is just a fantasy, I would not date a woman that looks like this. But they don't say anything. In fact, some of them actually shame these women for how they look. Like they more or less dismantle them psychologically. And when these women now change their body, this is not the first time I'm seeing something like this or hearing something like this. When the women now change their body, guess what? They will leave this woman for somebody who looked like they were before whatever transformation they went through. And somebody somewhere is still going to sit down and tell the rest of us that it is not the guy's fault. Like, I don't like that. There's something very mean and very, very, cruel about that. I mean, there are names, some can call it narcissistic, some can call it, but I'm not going to go into diagnosis or anything like that. It's just cruel. Simple. It's cruel. It is mean to do something to somebody, or for something to be done psychologically against somebody, and when the effects now shows off, you now say, well, it's their fault, without looking at what may have prompted them to do it. It's really, really sad. And I think that I'm glad that the lady spoke out. And the funny thing is that she wasn't, here is the thing, she wasn't even blaming the man. She was blaming herself. Only for this gentleman to blame her again. I'm like, what do you want? And I think the problem they had is, why put it out there? Why mention that your boyfriend? Why not say you did it to please yourself? So they want people to own something that was not originally their idea. Is that not plagiarism or something? Is that not stealing intellectual property? I don't know. But that's what I think. Stealing intellectual property. She's supposed to say, oh, I did this because I wanted to. Well, she didn't want to. That was not her plan. But she felt that if this is what will make her boyfriend happy or keep his attention on her, then she would do it. Besides, this set of men, they're the ones who have a problem with feminism and all of that. I have a problem with feminism, but a different reason from theirs. For them, it is like, if you're going to be equal, you have to be equal in all places. And I agree with that. But when you're talking about a woman trying to please her boyfriend, that is something a traditional, conventional wife material or girlfriend would do. A feminist is not out to please the man she's with, unless, of course, she's one of those pretentious ones and who would be doing one thing behind closed doors and come online and say another thing. But if we go by what they say, they don't try to please anybody, they please themselves. And that is mostly the idea of feminism, really. That's the general idea of feminism. How is executed or how is now practiced is another story entirely, right? But when they're not going to blame a girl, a young woman, for trying to please her boyfriend, I just stopped watching, because I stopped listening, I stopped watching, and I just, I've heard enough. that was wrong on all fronts. That was victim shaming. Like, you're not going to acknowledge what someone said. I think they were more upset about the fact that she came out to say it was her boyfriend. You know, they don't want anybody mentioned. No, don't mention anybody. You did this yourself. Yes, well, but someone prompted her to do it. Whether it was a foolish thing to do is insignificant. She was prompted to do it. And there are a lot of things that happen to people that they were prompted to do it. Yes, they were the ones who finally did it, but they did it at the prompting and urging of others. And that's what traditional wives do. So sometimes I don't understand what these men want. Not that I am paying attention to what they want, but the fact that they're neither here nor there. Like, on one hand, you don't want a feminist, or the other hand, you don't want a traditional woman. So what the heck do you want? You have a problem with a traditional woman, and a traditional woman does everything to please her husband, to please her boyfriend, to make her boyfriend happy, including body surgery. And nobody gives her the 101 or the wrong or the what not to do, the 10 commandments of I don't know, men, that thou shalt not date your fantasy. I just heard that day. I watched that video, or their reaction to the lady's video. Like, you cannot a man doesn't marry or date his fantasy. He just fantasizes about her. And I don't even know why that is even supposed to be normal. It's even disrespectful, really, because you're there and the man is fantasizing about someone else. You know, what she should have done if she was in the right mindset was that she should have left him when he was doing all of that, because it was disrespectful. She had just left him. But you know how it is. Women, we go for, maybe that's why it's easy for men to just up and leave sometimes, because that's what he did. He left her, you know, because she wasn't his fantasy. Well, she had become his fantasy, so she had ruined his fantasy for him, in quotes, so he left, right? But a woman would date her fantasy, would want to be with her fantasy. And that is why she does all she can to make sure that she's the fantasy of the guy as well. But there is a line that women shouldn't cross. There's a line women shouldn't cross. If you have to change any part of yourself, like that whole thing it showed me another level of cruelty that some people exhibit. I've noticed this for a while. Like, a man would like a woman who wears tattoos, or no, let me even be more basic. Now, I'm a conservative Christian, and that means I don't use jewelry. I don't wear trousers. At least I try not to wear trousers. I try not to wear jewelry. I try to avoid that, and I wear my hair natural. I don't use attachments at all. Hardly use makeup. So I'm as conservative as can be. I'm very, very natural when it comes to my looks, and I'm comfortable that way. I don't have to worry about matching colors on my face, or which color of clothing fits my wig. My hair color is my hair color, and that's that about that. I don't have to worry about, any other thing except that, like, so that is my job cut in half, if not less. I don't have to start looking for jewelry or clothes that match my jewelry, or jewelry that matches clothes. Blah. The only thing I have to look for is the accessories to my footwear. That's about it. To look at my accessories, which are like belts, shoes, and the likes, shoes and bags. Majorly, those are my accessories. Shoes, bags. That's about it, and it makes my clothing or dressing faster. Anywho, so there is a lot. There is a lot going on where you have men who date women like myself, who don't wear all of these things I just mentioned I don't wear. And then all of a sudden they start to say, oh, you look much better if you just put on just a little bit of earring, just small. It doesn't have to be big, like you look prettier. They can be as crude as saying that, or you look prettier, instead you're just looking dull. And my first instinct is, if she was that dull, what are you doing with her? Like I've never had that experience with any guy. And the problem also is that there are women who actually believe this is normal. So I get this a lot. Like, people who don't normally talk to me, maybe because they think I'm too conservative for their own taste. I wasn't out for their tastes, right? So I'm cordial to them and all of that, but they've erected a wall, an invisible wall of thou shalt not cross over, and I respect it, considering I'm not even there to make friends, so it doesn't bother me that much. And so all of a sudden they just come and say, well, they just ask out of the blue, and I realized that has been their problem. They just ask, so what if your husband wants you to wear earrings? I said, I will not wear it. And then they take it personal. Like, they really, really, these are women, older women. And then they take it personal. And then they go on and on about how you cannot just say something like that. You have to do what you can to keep your marriage. It's not such a big deal. And I'm thinking, whoa. Ho, ho, ho. So obviously, I realized that this is not about me. It's about what they feel about me. Like, I have the audacity to wear what I have chosen to identify as confidently. And it's not even what I chose to identify as. This is how I was born. Hello? Okay, so I have grown, but I'm not taking anything outside of my body to attach to myself except my clothes, okay, and my footwear and my bags. That's about it. I'm not fixing nails. I'm not fixing hair. I already have nails. Glory be to God. I have hair. I need not fix hair. Glory be to God. And I'm not painting my face either. I'm not wearing earrings. I'm not wearing things apart from clothes and shoes that I'm not born with. And the fact that they see me as confident with it, that I don't even recall, I'm not self-conscious about it. I'm very, very comfortable in my own naturalness, in my own unique nature. I'm comfortable in that. I think that kind of riled them, and I didn't know that until that outburst. And they went on and on and on. You can't just, you have to look good for your husband. You cannot just, and they went. When I realized they weren't asking for my opinion. They were just venting. So I just, I was just listening, or rather pretending to listen, but I was just hearing, just so that if they ask me to repeat myself, I can repeat. Now, these are people that are older than me, you understand? And I don't want to be rude, because I was raised to be a respectful person, even if, the people concerned are anything but respectable or respectful, as the case may be, And that happened to me like once or twice. I once had a friend who took issues with how I looked too. Like, I wasn't taking issues with how she looked. I never talked about why was she wearing trousers. I never talked about why she was wearing earrings. I never talked about why she was wearing attachment. Like, it was obvious she was wearing it, and I chose to be her friend because of that. I didn't think that was something we should talk about. I didn't think that was open for conversation, but apparently she's been keeping it in, and all of a sudden she just asked me questions like, what that was one. That's a common question. Like, I don't think there is any conservative, natural looking Christian that wouldn't tell you that people don't ask them that question. The only people they don't ask that question is Muslims, because their men want them to look that way. So unless you want to butt heads with the men too, you might just stay out of that. So people don't really go there. So the angle they come from is the feministic angle that, it must be oppressive for women to wear hijab and stuff like that. And some of the women are saying, I don't feel oppressed, so I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I like to dress this way, and my husband likes it. I like it too. I liked it. I was dressing that way before. They dress that way before they marry their husbands, and their husbands liked it. So why are you bothered? You understand what I'm saying? But when it comes to Christians, I don't know what is wrong with the Christians of these days. Like, we're just living the what is most important and fix on things that are less important, like looks, for example. What is wrong with a natural look? If I'm neat, I'm clean, and I'm kempt, why should anyone have a problem with how I look? Like, it is just weird. So you have a situation where both men and women think it's okay for a woman to change her looks to please her husband. Now, when she's done all of it to please her husband and her husband still leaves, they'll still blame her for it again. Here is my advice, whether you're a Christian, conservative or not. Know who you are before you get into a relationship. That is very, very important. That is very important. Know who you are. It's important you know who you are. Don't let anyone come on and try to make you a mannequin. Because I have heard and I've seen, in fact, there is a lady whose husband left her. She had changed her looks. Like, I saw the look she had before she became famous. She was kind of dark skinned, and how she looks now, she looks very fair, and she's probably done a few surgeries here and there. I'm not sure, but rumor has it. And she alluded to the fact that her boyfriend, who later became her husband, wanted, he kind of had a preference for a fairer look. Like, he felt that she would look better if she looked lighter. And so she went and lightened up her skin a lot. But he still left her. And he left her for someone younger and someone darker. I thought that was an insult. So please, women, I hear some people who always say that those of us who have good content, who have confidence in ourselves, we often assume that because we are confident in ourselves, like every other woman, especially if they are younger, because I'm in my early 30s. Like, I always look at younger women as having more confidence. I had no idea that, they aren't always that confident. I had no idea, and I felt really sad. I felt that if one of us or a few of us have been talking about be true to yourself, don't change yourself because of anybody. Maybe if you have been saying it enough, maybe women will not feel the need to go for surgeries when they are not sick. You are already having your body pumped with this and that. Don't do that. I mean, if you're going to have your body pumped, at least wait until when everything has fallen. And by that time, you wouldn't even want to put yourself through that stress. There is nothing to envy about women who have a more sculpted figure. There is nothing to envy about it. Don't envy. Comparing one to another is not wise. So if the man you're with, do not join the league of people who begin to wish that they were what they were before. Don't join the league of people who now begin to regret because they did not value what they had until they lost it. So you might look at yourself and say your butt is, your backside is small, your boobs are small, you have stretch marks there, your nose is fat, your lips are big, your cheeks are big, whatever it is you think is big or too small or whatever. It is what makes you unique. What makes you different makes you beautiful. You don't have to look like everybody else. Like, do you know how weird that would look? If we all look the same way, we all have the same shape. How are you different from another person if you can't maintain, or you don't want to maintain what is uniquely yours? What is the difference? What would be the difference? What would be your identity? Because it's part of your identity how you are. If you are not unhealthy, if you are not obese, whatever else you think you need, those are things you achieve with exercises. Whatever an exercise gives you, take it like that. Love what you have. Love what you are born with. If looking at IG models or looking at other women makes you feel bad, well, maybe you should stop looking. The more of yourself you love, the more of other women you love, and the less you envy them. And any man or woman at that who tells you you need to look like someone else, cut them out of your life. Like, remove yourself from their life and remove them from their life. Remove yourself from their life and walk away from them. Do not be friends with anybody who thinks you are less than somebody and you need to be like somebody. You need to be around people who see in you things that you do not see in yourself. That is important. To be with people who see in you what you do not see in yourself. Not people who exaggerate what your flaws, so-called flaws, and make it sound more like a deformity. Anyone who talks about what you are insecure about or any part of your body as a flaw, avoid them. Those are not people you want to be talking about. They are talking to, they are toxic. Love yourself and understand one thing. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, you are worth dying for, and that's why Christ died for you. Christ didn't ask you. Before you were yet born, Christ died for you. And he didn't say, oh, go and change your nose or go and have a bigger butt or bigger breasts before I can think you worthy of dying for. No, he died for you how you are, for who you are. So if a man cannot see you beyond your looks, he's not for you. No matter how much he fits into your dream guy. Even if he's your dream guy, he's going to make your life a nightmare. If your dream guy does not appreciate and love you as you are, beyond how you look, if your dream guy is always staring at other women, online and offline, and drooling over other women, that is a nightmare, not a dream guy. Walk away. Your mental health, your emotional health is much more important than being with a man, no matter how good looking he is, no matter how much of every other person's dream guy he is. Because sometimes some of you date a man because every other girl likes him. So you feel lucky to be picked. You're not a pick me. You're a treasure. So unless a man feels lucky and blessed, or blessed is what I use, I don't use the word lucky most. Unless a man feels like you're the best thing that has happened to him and he treats you like that. If a man is sitting with you and talking with you and girls walk past and he's gawking at them, it's disrespectful. Do not take that. Don't let anybody shame how you feel or dismiss your feelings. Don't let anybody tell you, well, it's just fantasy. You want to take that. It's not that serious. Well, it's serious to you. The fact what is serious to you should be serious to anybody who claims that they love you. If it is not serious to them, then it's because they don't love you. You walk. You move on. And I can tell you this for free. Not every guy is crazy. So don't think that if you don't date this one, who is going to have you? What do you mean? Do you know how many millions of men are out there? If the men in your area are crazy, move somewhere else. There are some countries, as we speak, they have a shortage of women. If you think they're going to be bothered about whether somebody has a big butt or not, think again. So you might want to go to a place where there is a shortage of women. That may be a good idea or a bad idea. Just make sure that the law enforcement is very, very good around there and the men are not creepy. Then again, creepy men can be anywhere. My point is, there is one man out there for you. And the man for you is somebody who you are the only woman in his mind. If there is any woman in his mind, you are that woman. Whatever fantasies he had, the moment he saw you, the moment you came into his life, all the fantasies, they blew away. They faded. He no longer finds pleasure in them. That is a man who truly loves you. Not a man who tells you he loves you, but he's salivating over somebody else's butt. That is a sick man. In case you don't know, if nobody told you that's a sick man, is not normal. Of course. No sick man would admit that he's sick. In fact, he will claim he's the one who is more normal than the one who is not salivating over every woman he sees. But let's face it, if a madman tries to walk up to you and convince you that he's not mad, would you stand there arguing with him? Of course not. Or if a man who doesn't have a roof over his head, homeless, picking from the dumpster, tells you that he's not homeless, would you stand there, argue with him and say, no, is saying he has a home? Would you stay there and say, oh, you have a home? Where? Where is it? Like, you don't argue with crazy people. Once you find out they're crazy, you get out. And don't think you want to try to fix them, because in your bid to fix them, you might fall yourself. Love yourself, love yourself. The Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. So whatever love you have for your neighbor that is not coming from the love you have for yourself is not love. That's how I see it. Whatever love you have for your neighbor that does not come from the love you have for yourself is not love. You cannot love yourself less than other people. And you doing surgeries because of somebody else is you loving yourself less. In fact, is you not loving yourself at all. And here is the thing, it will backfire. You will do all that. You won't still be happy with yourself. Then you console yourself that you did it for somebody. And then the somebody you did it for walks away. What can you do? You can't even claim damages. How about that? You can't even claim damages. And now you are left with a body you really don't need. And every time a guy says hi, you feel as if that is another version of your ex-boyfriend saying hi to you. Because every man who likes how you look makes you feel that they don't like you, they just like how you look. It now makes it a bit more difficult to know who really loves you and who just likes your body. Don't put yourself in that. Don't make permanent decisions based on anyone's comments, based on things that grow. A woman's body is ever changing. And that's why so many women have stretch marks. Some of us have stretch marks on our butt, some have it on our thigh, some have it on our legs. Because our body is always changing. We're always gaining weight and losing weight, gaining weight and losing weight, gaining weight and losing weight. Then when you become a mother, it's another different thing. You could come out having that banging body that you always admired, but you didn't have. Because having a baby adds a few pounds to you. By the time you have that and then you exercise, you just work out your belly area when it is safe for you to start exercising, you have a more shapely body. But at least you're confident that your man is with you not because of your looks, but because he loves you. Love yourself first before you start loving other people. You only love your neighbor as you love yourself. Don't love your neighbor more than you love yourself. So if you love yourself 20%, don't be loving anyone 21%. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. And God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. A lot of the things we do that are wrong, that hurt us, is out of fear. Because when you have power, you have love, you have a sound mind, you wouldn't think of doing surgery to change your body structure. The Bible also says that they that know their God, he shall be strong and they shall do exploits. Know your God. Know who God is. Know your creator, know your maker. Have a relationship with him. Be his friend. And then it wouldn't bother you what someone has to say about your body shape. In fact, nobody will come to you, because then again, the aura you exude sometimes is what, if you exude the aura of being insecure, you have people stand on that insecurity and make hurtful comments about your body or your person. But when you are confident in who you are, and there is nothing they can poke fun at, or they can't even say anything negative about you, because you are not bothered. It doesn't get to you, because now you have a purpose, you have a higher calling, and changing your body is just not one of it. Take care. Shalom.